Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor, and today we are here with Alliance War 56, number 12, and AOH has matched up against LVT, and we need to win this war to clutch top 10. If we win this war, we are 100% getting top 10 this season, and if we lose, then we will be still Masters, top 20. But I believe going into this war, LVT was in 5th, and I think that if they won this war and then they had two alliances above them docked, they would have made top 3. So that's not going to happen. They did not make top 3 and only one alliance above them got docked. But anyways, we have a pretty interesting, to say the least, war today. There, I got parried. Didn't notice I hit the parry, unfortunately, and it did cost me. Venom is tactic here, so we just have to be careful with the unblockable, but we're going to make sure to keep up the armor shatter the whole fight so that we are able to deal with any potential armor ups he may gain, as this is the node with, what is it? It's peak, bleed, and glancing, excuse me, on you if the opponent has an armor up. Yeah. So we just armor shatter to remove any armor ups and also prevent any future ones from activating. We did get hit 3 times. So we got hit by 3 hits, and 2 of the hits bled me, and between the 2 hits they took out 54% of my health, which is crazy that 2 bleeds can do that much damage. Like, I know how much damage Venom's bleeds do, but that's still kind of crazy. Here we have the same exact fight that we took last war. We have Enchantress on node 12, except this time it's a rank 4. And because I was the one that did it last time and I soloed, I decided to send myself once again. So here we are. So we have this Enchantress. This one is going to go a lot better because I have learned how to do this fight properly. And actually, as I'm recording this right now, we're in the middle of our first off-season war, and I did actually take this in that war, and I do an even better job in that fight of managing it because it's just kind of learning how to do it. It's not that hard of a fight once you learn. I am going to make the mistake in this fight of not throwing my L1 when I should, and I am going to gradually lose combat power rate over the duration of this fight. But the key to this fight is saving your Haymaker to be able to remove the spells when appropriate. So you want to make sure that you have it available both to remove the for the heavy counter and the intercept if those activate. And you do want to throw L1s if you can. There I probably should have gone for heavy. I don't know why I didn't. That was really dumb. But now that I've baited out 2 L1s, we are actually able to... and then there we got a miss. But you have 2 chances, so it's fine. So there we get an L1 which is just absolutely perfect, and we do lose our invuln because of it. That's been happening a lot with Titania recently, unfortunately. But here we need to remove the intercept spell, so I think we're going to go for a light intercept. Yeah, she doesn't go for it, so we're just going to wait out our Haymaker, and then we are going to get our intercept right here. So this fight's going down. We are very healthy still, and now that I baited 2 L1s, we are going to try to push Enchantress to her special 2, just because that means we don't have to deal with spells for a bit. So here I'm going to hit her with a couple heavies. And yeah, so now there's no spells to deal with for now. There will be later, but in 2 minutes we have gotten down over half the fight, and for punching up in such a difficult matchup, I'm very happy with how this fight went. I came out of this fight very satisfied, considering that it just went a lot better than it did last time. But we're just playing it slow, only hitting her while she's stunned so she can't auto block us, and Titania's dealing some really good damage. She really is. Here we get the miss. I think in this fight we get the miss on every single special. Like, I genuinely think there's not a single one we didn't get the miss on, which is just so insanely unlucky, but whatever, because it's what happened. Also, if you don't react instantly, you can't do a medium light into the stun because the light attack will get auto-blocked. So you have to be quick about it or just go for double light. So in this fight, I think I just go for double light. Also, you can use your striker to remove the counter heavy spell without any risk of miss activating. And then here we're going to get our intercept with the unblockable. And now the fight is going to be over. I believe she is going to go down before she ever throws another special, because I think this heavy kills. Boom, there you go. So 3-minute fight. Obviously that's a little long, but considering how difficult of a fight it is, I'm still happy with that. So now we'll go on to our next fight. There is one fight in this war that's really bad that we're going to get to, because I completely overlooked a part of a champion's kit that I was not aware existed. Like, it was genuinely an ability I didn't know was in the game, and it is going to cause us to die because I just never heard of it. And neither had the other officer who was planning with me. We both agreed that this was a good matchup and sent me into it, and it turns out it's completely impossible. It's not this fight. This fight's fine. Thanos versus Iron Man Infinity War on the Combat Deja Vu Intensify node. But yeah, that fight's going to get fun later. So Iron Man Infinity War, pretty straightforward. We're just going to be alternating hits. Most of the fight I'm going to be going for medium, light, heavy, just so he doesn't gain any intensifies. I think he's going to gain a couple later in the fight, but it's not really a big deal. We're doing really good damage, and I think we're going to go for L2s in this fight, if I recall correctly. We are going to try to bait out specials pretty early when he has it, just so there's no risk of him going red once he pushes, I think it's 18% is when he activates all his armor ups, and whenever he has armor ups, he has a 100% chance to auto block and just a bunch of stuff. There we do take a couple hits and we get pushed into our first protection, but like, it's not a big deal. So the end of this fight is going to be a little slow because our heavy attack is going to be the only hit we can hit with, because if we hit with anything else, then we are going to get auto blocked and parried. So here we're going to go for an L2 just to get a little bit of DOT damage. I decided not to build up Furies in this fight just because I thought it wasn't super safe, and that was probably the right call. But yeah, here we go with a heavy. He gets a bunch of armor up, so we just have to wait it out. 8 specials. It's not like an L3 in this fight would kill us, but still nice to bait it out. Here we're going to go for another heavy. Like I said, we're only going for heavies, and there that heavy did kill. So now the impossible fight. We have Northstar on this node, which is the old node 41. This was a very popular placement, and I have taken this fight with multiple different champions. I've taken this with future Ant-Man. I've taken this with Ghost. I've taken this with Hood even. I have never taken this with a champion who relies on physical damage. And I was not aware that when Northstar throws a special, he gets a huge physical resistance. How big is that physical resistance? Big enough that SheHulk can't deal damage. And if you think I'm joking, just wait. The first minute and a half or so of this fight is going pretty well, and I get him down to about half health. And then it starts, and then it gets really, really bad, and there's nothing I can do. So here's the physical resist. At this point, I'm not worried yet. I'm like, I have 20% of this fight down in the first 20 seconds. This fight's going to be like a minute and a half, which is chill. Also, I did do a bunch of duels to make sure I could heavy counter the special one. But at this point, I'm still chilling. I'm looking at my combo. I'm like, okay, that combo did like 5% health. That's not awful. And I'm aware that the reason he is on this node is because he can spam specials like that. I was not concerned about that part of the fight. I didn't think that would be an issue. And it's not. Truthfully, that is not the... Look at that. That was such a pathetic L2. With 14 traumas, that L2 did 10,000 damage. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, this is I'm probably cooked. I'm probably cooked. I am going to make one mistake in this fight, and in the first fight, and I ate one L1, which is 14 hits, and it killed me from 100% health. We're going to go back in. Second fight, don't know what I was expecting. It goes the exact same. I do survive for a little bit longer, and I think I get him down to like 10% health. I was never going to solo this fight. This was just a complete oversight because I have never used him, and whenever I fight him, it's not with champions that rely on physical damage, so I was just simply not aware of this part of his kit where he activates physical resistance. When I fight him with Ghost, I make sure to kill him before he even uses a single special attack. When I kill him with Hood, you do a bunch of burst damage and energy damage, so the physical resistance doesn't matter. When you kill him with Fam, once again, it's all energy damage. So I've just never had the matchup of having to fight him with a physical damaging champion, and I just didn't know. Like, straight up, I'm the one that made the assignment. There was another officer with me. He was also completely unaware. And JJ, one of the guys in my BG, he was saying, isn't that a Prowler fight? Yes, it is a Prowler fight, but not specifically Prowler. It's just you have to use someone with either DOT or energy damage, and I didn't know that. I probably should have. Probably. I just didn't know that about his kit. And here we're going to start off this fight absolutely perfectly with SheHulk. And we are going to take a heavy attack because I just mistimed the heavy punish. I was a little bit too early. I do know it very well, and I'm going to do it correctly for the rest of the fight. This is node 44 hazard shift. They place a destroyer here. I gotta admit, I don't understand the placement for destroyer, but whatever. I could have done this with Hood very, very easily as well if I was not using Deathless SheHulk. But if you are unaware, the reason Deathless SheHulk works for this node is because the Thanos synergy gives her rupture immunity. So, and she's already poison immune in her base kit, so she just doesn't take hazard shift damage. She's immune to both of them, which just means that this is a stun immune duel. So that was very easy. Let's go over to my alt account now, which has some really nice fights, and I'm glad to be done with my main account for the rest of the season. And just while the beginning of this clip is playing, I am going to go open up my stats. Oh no, actually I didn't make them yet, so I'll have to just put them in the description. But we do have a full Hood war here, and we have one Mantis fight. I believe there's 7 Hood fights in this war and 1 Mantis. So we're starting out on path 6, section 1. This is a really sloppy fight. This is definitely the worst fight of the war. I think I take an L1 to the face while he has prowess. Generally not a good idea. Just don't do that. And I think it's coming up right here. I think we eat the special right at the start of the fight. Yeah. And yeah, we just eat the whole thing to the face. I was late on the dash back, so the first hit triggered a parry, and then the second hit just hit me because I didn't dash back. I parried apparently. So yeah, I'm not going to die. I'm not even going to come close. In fact, I don't think I get hit the rest of the fight, but not super fun. Didn't play this fight the best. And then here we have to bait out an L2, which is fine. You can just outrange the L2 and the fight goes down, but yeah, a little bit of mistake in the fight at the beginning of the fight, even though it only lost us, what, like not even 15% health. So next up, we have Void on this path 6 node, and this is a really good placement because he is going to be placing debuffs on you, and we want Tranquilize. So my Mantis on my alt account is rank 3. Like, she is unduped, but that does not matter here because her Tranquilize is 100% versus Science Champions anyways. We are just going to be rushing to a special 2 and then throwing it, and the fight should basically be over. We are being careful in this fight as well. There we had a really weird light whiff after my medium hit. I don't know why. And then this heavy with 10 Furies is not quite going to kill. Going to leave it like 3% health and then tap him once and he does go down. But as long as you do shortened or like lengthened combos, I guess is the best way to say it, where there's a little bit more time in between your combo hits, then your Tranquilize will reapply for every hit and you will never get the bleeds on you. Now the hits in the heavy are too close together to reactivate the Tranquilize, which is why we did get a couple Furies, a couple bleeds on us and took a little damage, but that is Mantis's only fight, so it's fine. So now we're going over to Path 1, Section 2, and we do have this Kindred on High Energy Diet with Hood. High Energy Diet, not the best matchup in the world with Hood, admittedly, but because both the L2 and your heavy detonation are energy damage. But we're just going to get a bunch of bullets back with our heavy, because why not? Because I lost quite a lot on Sauron. We are going to try to pause, but I do prefer to pause with the L2, so here we're going to be able to bait it out. I think we're going to throw L3s in this fight just because the bleed is obviously not energy damage, so we will get full benefit from it. But here we're going to bait out one more L2. He does hesitate a little bit to throw it, and we are losing a little bit of power, but it's nothing bad. And I think we're going to heavy here to push to the L2. Nice. Bait it out. And then, yeah, this fight is pretty easy, even with that. There, I meant to throw an L3, but I threw an L2 by accident, but it's fine. We have to knock down with a heavy. There, I only had one miss. So what I could have done there is I could have just charged heavy, and it would have landed, and it would have made the degen thing expire faster. But we didn't. You know, it's whatever. And then here, the miss allows us to punish it. And the special 2 is still doing really good damage because the extra damage from unblockable makes a big difference. And then there we had Fate Seal up when he crossed over his 5%, and that gives a 65% chance to fail the root, which did trigger. I did hold a special in case the root still activated, but I mean, the thing that was most likely to happen did happen. So now we have this Sersi. Sersi is going to be on the buffet node, and this is a really easy fight with Hood. We are throwing on an invuln boost here. I think this is the war where I use 2 invuln boosts for absolutely no reason. Yeah, I think it is. So this is a really easy fight. As soon as you get to your first L2, the fight's basically over. You throw like 2 L2s and then she dies. It's a really hard counter because the only time Hood is going to be activating the glancing is on his crits. And when he crits, he inflicts a stagger. And the way that the game counts it in like the order is that the stagger triggers before the glancing. So the stagger prevents the glancing. So yeah, 2 L2s into heavy. She does go down. We did do a little trick there where we activated Dex to consume buffet before we threw our special 2, and that just made sure that our invisibility would not get eaten by the node, even though if I didn't do that, there was still a 65% chance it would fail anyways. But just being safe, we have a Deathless Thanos right here, and this is on node 39. Yes, this is on node 39. This is actually a pretty good placement. I don't hate this placement. As far as nodes for Thanos, this is not bad. Genuinely, it's not that bad. We are going to be a little bit patient at the start of the fight because ideally I want to be taking advantage of Rich Get Richer to get to my L2, because if he activates his L2 before not his L2. If he activates a special before I get my L2, that's when the fight can get sketchy, because I won't have the ability to nullify him. I mean, technically I could throw the L2 into him while he has his buffs, but there, he decks the L2, bro. That was so annoying. He just decks the L2 so I don't get Fate Seal on me. So now we're stuck in the corner. I think we're gonna eat this L2, because why not? We did have an invuln, so that soaks up some of the damage, but this corrosion is ticking, and it is a long corrosion. was not the prettiest fight in the world. And then there, our Relic activates the Unstoppable yet again. I just don't know what it is. I really just need to get a lot more practice fighting Thanos, because Hood versus Thanos is a really good matchup, and on a lot of nodes it should be your go-to matchup. For example, if I see Thanos on any hazard shift node, it's gonna be Hood, and he's gonna be like the best counter by far. I think I've taken that matchup on node 45 this season actually. But yeah, here I think we're going to get out one more special. Here heavy, and that does finish the fight off. But yeah, that L2 took over half of our health away, which wasn't super fun, because we do still have 2 fights left with Hood. So another interesting thing about this war is that I did not have any SP1 boosts. Like, I just didn't have any left, so I had to use a very unique strategy for this Adam Warlock fight. And that strategy is going to be invuln tanking. So if you don't have an SP1 boost, what do? You throw on an invuln and you intentionally eat a combo off the start of the fight. And that's what we're going to do here. And I'm not joking. I discussed this with my BG, and I told them this is what I was going to be doing. I'm taking these hits on purpose, because the way Hood counters hazard shift is he throws the L2 for the Fate Seal. Now, against Adam Warlock specifically, it's not the greatest matchup in the world, because he is going to go Fate Seal immune when he activates his sovereignty buffs, but you are going to be able to prevent it for probably your first L2, maybe even your second. But here we get to our L2. We are going to wait for invisibility to come back, and then there we get a good burst of damage. So now he has gone immune. So now he's immune to Fate Seal. However, he's not immune to everything else Hood does, and he is dead. I don't know why I did that. I could have just thrown a heavy and it would have killed, but the fight's over. So still a really fast fight, even though we didn't have an SP1 boost. I would still rather send Hood than anyone else, because I believe he's that superior of a counter to that fight. So now we have a Maestro. This is going to be an interesting fight. And by interesting, I mean long. Why is it long? Because I do a really bad job of managing his buffs at the start of the fight, and I let him get glancing, which means no power steal for me. Hood can get to L2 and start L2 cycling against polka dot power, because he still will gain his power from power steal. It's just the combat power rate you won't get. But Maestro's going to start us off really nice and not throw a heavy until he is at, what, 5 charges? 4 charges. Wonderful. Already starting off really bad. We're going to be power stealing all we can. And here I think... Yeah, okay. So right there what happened, you'll notice that the fight skipped a few seconds. I actually got a call, like the timer skipped a few seconds. I got a call and it stopped my phone recording. Like, it straight up turned it off. The game paused, and then I got a call in. So I had to like text the person, hey, I can't talk right now, I'll call you back. And then I went back and resumed the recording. So it is nice that it paused the recording and it actually told me, because what phones used to do is they used to not tell you, which was really annoying. But yeah, here we're going to knock down. Now that he is glancing, we just can't gain power like I was saying before, so we have to just wait out this phase, throw a couple heavy attacks. I think we're going to throw one more in the corner. Yeah. With Hood, you can infinitely power lock champions in the corner with your heavy attacks, but it's not super useful. I normally don't mind doing it, especially with Stand Your Ground, because his heavy is it's 3 hits, so that they would have to activate a 50% chance 3 times in a row. So 87.5% of the time that you throw a heavy attack into the block of a champion in the corner, the heavy attack is going to land and you're not going to get punished, and I like those odds. So I think we are going to get to our L2 at one point in this fight, if I remember correctly. Here we're trying to pause our stuff. He's not going to let me, but luckily we are able to stagger the glancing and pause his charges. So I think right here is where we're going to get to our L2. And of course it is right before he dies. Like literally right before he dies, I get to my first L2. That was just a poorly managed fight. A bad start added probably a minute onto that fight at least. So now we're going to get to the season reward openings. Also, this is my first Masters title on my alt account. Because while I have been competing for a few seasons, I think I've gotten Platinum 1 all of those seasons on my alt. So, that's cool. I'm still not going to change my title. My title is still Cavalier because I just don't care enough to change it. But, yeah, that's pretty cool. And we are going to, so yeah, like I said, we're claiming it. We did end in 13th place this season, so that's not awful, but if we'd won the last war, then we would have been top 10. By the way, we lost. I don't remember what the score was, but I remember they had 6 deaths, and there's just no way we're beating that in this meta when our average is over 10. So we did have 2 basics to open on my alt account, and I'm pretty sure they were pretty bad. I'm pretty sure this is a first time Kindred dupe. That's actually not the worst pull in the world. Yeah, it is. Okay, first time Kindred dupe there, and then I'm fairly certain we get another dupe, if I remember. Yeah, a War Machine dupe. Another useless one. So not great, not amazing, but it's something. At least it's not a double dupe. I lied. That was a double dupe. War Machine, that was the 4th time I pulled him. So that's a SIG 60 War Machine. Not the greatest pull. We do also have a Titan on my alt, so we'll open that. I'm pretty sure this was a good pull. Yeah, so it's a first time dupe, a Beta Ray Bill, which honestly I don't mind. That's a pretty solid pull. Everyone has Beta Ray Bill because he was given out for free as a 7-star. Well, like all endgame players have him, but he was not available to dupe for a while until he came into that crystal, so that's good. Also, the thing that tells you how many master titles you have is bugged. For example, right there it told me I had 0. I have like 20 master titles. I don't know why it said that. Also, there's a masterful title that goes to all players with 10 plus masters placements. I never got mine. Like, I think I got my 10th master's placement in like 2022 or 2023. Probably even earlier than that. Yeah, it was probably earlier than that. But I just never got the masterful title, and I don't know why. But yeah, so now we're doing our opening on my main account, and I think we have 1 of each. I think we have 1 basic and 1 Titan crystal. So we'll pop this open quickly, and I remember what the Titan is, but I don't remember what this is. Oh, yay, it's more SIGs on my already duped Terex. Amazing. Yep. What? SIG 40. Wonderful. That's so useful. But I do know what I get out of this Titan, and it is pretty good. So I was just checking if I had a 7-star Awakening Gem Crystal, but I did not. So we'll pop this open, and we actually get a pretty good pull here. Gentle, which is awesome. We duped Gentle. We actually pulled him from my last Titan crystal, and then the very next crystal we duped him. Also, I did take him to rank 3. He was already rank 2, unduped, so I did decide to take him to rank 3, and I'll just put the screenshot of him being at rank 3. I'll put it like right here in the video, just while I talk over the season. So overall this season, it was pretty good. I had 4 deaths total, 1 death on my alt account, and 3 deaths on my main account. Going into War 10, I had 0 deaths on both accounts, and then in the final 3 wars, I died 4 times. So overall, as a season, it was still pretty good, but I like I had such an opportunity to get 2 Deathless seasons in the same season, which would have just been so cool, because I think I only have 2 ever. I'm pretty sure the number is 2. Yeah, I think I have 2 Deathless seasons ever, and I would have doubled that in 1 season, which would have been really cool. But that's the second season in a row that I've had only 1 death on my alt account, and I just know I can do better. And yeah, I know I can do better, even though I did pretty well. And we're going to be looking to just play a little better next season. So, like I said before, I do not have the stats up in front of me. I know that our record this season was 7-5. Also, one thing I want to quickly say is that right after the season ended, there were a bunch of alliances docked. TCN was docked, and then 2 of the alliances that we lost to this season were docked for modding. And I called them out in the war videos, and I said this alliance was probably modding against us. Both times I was correct. And the ironic thing is that one of those 2 alliances that modded against us and beat us accused me of modding because they didn't understand how Sheilth works, which is just so funny. That's just so dumb. But of course, we're not gonna get any compensation for losing to modding alliances. Just like 2 seasons ago, where we were in Masters heading into war number 12, we faced an alliance that was modding. They modded to beat us, kicked us out of Masters, and then got banned immediately after. And despite all of our attempts to talk to Kabam support about giving us the difference between Masters and Platinum 1 rewards, as we were deserved, because we very likely would have won the war if they were not modders, nothing happened. And nothing is going to happen this time either, because Kabam just simply does not care. Like I said, all of my stats are going to be in the description. Thank you guys so much for all of the support that I received this season on my Alliance War videos. It is by far my best performing war videos of all time, that just this season. And the very lowest viewed video has almost 200 views, which go back 4 or 5 months. That would be a good top video for a season. So I am going to be continuing this into next season. I will stay consistent on the content in the off season. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.